Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and welcome Anil Kapoor.
थैंक यू सो मच। थोड़ा सा और जोश दिखाना मेरे लिए तो कम था, मगर जब हमारे जॉर्ज क्लूनी साहब आएंगे यहाँ तो प्लीज़ थोड़ा सा हमारे मेहमान हैं आज के लिए, वर्चुअली सही मगर प्लीज़ welcome him with a lot of energy, okay? So it's a privilege for me to, of course, speak to him and converse with him, Mr. George Clooney. So can we all welcome Mr. George Clooney on the screen over here, virtually? Long distance.
Guys,
come on!
the family.
Come on!
Guys, hello.
Hi, George. Please say hello to everybody.
Yeah, hi. I wish I was there. I'm here. It's late at night on a Friday night. I wish I was there with you guys.
Yeah, it's absolutely, and it's a privilege and honor to be here, to speak to you. I'm sure I'm going to ask you a few questions, which you must have answered millions of times. But it's long distance, virtually, but still, I'm really, really excited to speak to you today.
Well, before we go any further, I want to say this. First of all, in my world over here, you are a rock star, and out that I was doing an interview with you, I couldn't hear more about Mission Impossible, Slumdog, and all your films, and you are a full-on rock star here. So it's my honor to talk to you.
Thank you. So kind of you, George, coming from you.
And you look unbelievable for 29 years old.
No, absolutely. I'm elder to you. I'm 65, George. So I'm senior to you. But both of us started in 1978. You started in 78, right?
Sort of. It was early 80s when I started getting work.
Okay. Cool.
Struggling.
Cool. And I must tell you, George, that I can call you George. What do I call you? Clooney?
Yeah, that's fine. Or no, you call me Frank if you want. I don't care.
Well, George, you're one of the most popular, loved, girls, love you over here, one of the, from America and India, really, really very, very popular, and people love you over here, George, absolutely.
Well, I love it there. I have to say I've been there a few times, and it's such a beautiful country, and, there's something to say about the largest democracy in the world, and, it's always fascinating to place and see such a beautiful culture, really is.
Yeah. You've been here twice, right?
I think maybe more. I've promoted some films, and then I came once with the UN.
Right.
Because there was a great deal of participation from India, the UN, in helping people in Sudan, South Sudan, and in Darfur. They were unbelievable. So we came to say thank you.
Yeah, India is a vast country. It's a diverse country. And of course, today, world over, that's the priority of diversity and inclusiveness. That's what the world needs at the moment today.
Well, it seems like it's always needed. And sometimes we fall a little short, I suppose. But we've always needed. By the way, I didn't know Boris Johnson was going to be honored to mess my hair up.
No, but George, your hair, every strain of your hair, you can come into India and sell it for $1 million. People just love your hair. And I heard that you cut your hair yourself. You cut your hair yourself?
I do. I've got a trimmer, and my wife looks at me like there's something wrong with me.
A
vacuum cleaner.
Terrific. And I remember a few years back, I was offered a film called Dil Dhadakne Do by, one a very well-known director over here, Zoya Akhtar, and she said, I want I want you to play this role. I said, what role is this? I want the George Clooney look. I said, George Clooney? It's simple. George Clooney, okay, fine. I had to sit for 100 hours on the chair to get the George Clooney look. I swear, with the colorist. And I still couldn't get the George Clooney look, but you know, with that look, I swept all the awards with the George Clooney. I swept all the awards, and the film became a success. Yeah, and people spoke more about my look than my performance, but still they gave me the awards.
Well, take the award. And by the way, I am a big believer that my hair has gotten me a long way.
But I'm completely gray, completely
Are
gray.
you really?
Yeah, I'm completely. This is jet black. I've done it for a film called Fighter, and when they want the George Clooney look, I ask for double the price. If 100,000 is my remuneration, I ask for double it, and for black hair, I charge half of it.
Yeah, because you look so young. You get compliment.
No,
You're the youngest looking grandfather I've ever seen.
Not at all. I'm a grandfather now. Yeah. Absolutely, I became a grandfather. And
how is that? Are you enjoying being a grandfather?
Well, to be honest with you, can I be very honest with you? When I became a father, I couldn't process this. It took me some time to become to really process it. I'm married since the last 38 years, and you married only 6 years. So it's your eighth anniversary, right? Eighth anniversary, and in 8 years, I think the world is really learning a lot how you are, managing your professional and your personal life. So coming to me, as you asked me about the question of the grandfather, so I'm still in the process. I was in Austria now, and I started slowly connecting with my grandson. His name is Vayu, means wind. Yeah, and I started connecting. I took him for a kind of for a walk. Beautiful weather, and he was, looking at the sky and the sun, and was trying to eat it.
Really?
Yeah. Because that's his first exposure to the universe, to the planet, to the nature, and it's wonderful to see, and how he was reacting to it. So I am slowly and steadily connecting. I'm much more quicker than the way I connected with my children, more with my grandson at the moment. Yeah.
Well, I started very late with children, so I've got 2 5-year-olds, and I've done everything wrong. I have done literally everything. Like, we taught our kids Italian, but I don't speak Italian. That's a disaster. Because they talk in Italian, and I don't understand what they're saying. And you've literally done everything wrong, but man, it's fun. I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, and you've been nominated many times for Oscars in various categories of writer, director, producer, and I think you were on the August Company of Orson Welles and Warren Beatty, and you won the Oscar for the political documentary Rihanna, and if you really, honestly, if you ask me, I think you should have taken the trophy away for Michael Clayton. Yeah, right, absolutely. And one of my favorite films, and of course, Up in the Air and Descendants. I love Descendants, I
was very lucky, I think you'll agree that pretty much everything that works out starts with a really good script. And if you don't have a good script, you can't do it. You can't make a good film or give a good performance out of a bad script. So it's almost, you're kind of relying on everybody else's help along the way. So that was a good script.
Rihanna, yeah. And sometimes it so happens you have a great script, you do, you do your best, and of course you feel it, and the entire team feels, your peers feel that you're going to be definitely, this is Oscar material, and you're going to win the Oscar, or you're going to be nominated. And if it doesn't happen, how do you deal with that? If it doesn't happen?
Well, everything for me has been, I don't know if this phrase makes sense, but we call it icing on the cake. Because for me, I grew up in Kentucky, and I was a tobacco farmer, and I cut tobacco for a living for $3 an hour. And I knew I didn't want to do that. I thought there might be something more fun to do in life. And so I moved out to California, and I lived in a buddy of mine's closet for 2 years, and rode a bicycle on auditions. So everything to me has just been mostly luck, and I've always been very appreciative of it. So if something doesn't work out at the Oscars, that's just you know, that's nothing to worry about or complain about. I feel very lucky in my career, and so I've never felt that I'm owed or someone should be acknowledging me in any way. I have fun doing what I get to do. You know, most people we know, most people we meet in our lives, they don't get to have the kind of fun we have doing what we do. It's fun.
And absolutely, I agree with you. I feel blessed. You know, once every day I get up in the morning and if I'm, you know, I'm doing something which I love, and I'm, you know, going in front of the camera, I'm, you know, traveling all over the world, meeting so many people. So I say whatever, you know, I get every day, and whatever, you know, little, you know, whatever I have today is thanks to this show business, and I also feel very, very blessed and very, very grateful. And whatever comes, I take it as icing in the cake. I totally, totally agree with you. And I heard that you used to, you know, sell shoes. You know.
Oh man, I sold ladies' shoes.
Ladies' shoes, yeah.
It's a terrible job. It's a frightening job. I'm telling you, it was like, you know, everyone was lying about the size of their foot. It was, I don't know why, but it was crazy. And we were selling these shoes to these, you know, were like old lady shoes, and it was just a nightmare. But I got out of there finally. I sold insurance door to door. That's a terrible job. People just hate you when you knock on their door and ask what they have. Term life insurance.
Yeah,
you know?
But you've come a long way. But you know, had your bumpy rides, but you always wanted to be an actor, George?
I don't know. It's a good question. My father was a newsman. For a period of time when I was very young, he had a variety show, the Nick Clooney Show. It was in a little local Cincinnati, Ohio TV station. And, you know, he wasn't making any money, but he had a really fun life. And so the family had to work the show.
Okay.
So I would be the floor director, and my sister was the cue card girl. And then, and then we would do live bits. So it would be, you know, it was St. Patrick's Day. I'd be 9 years old, and my dad would dress me up like a leprechaun and put me on the show and interview me. Like, you know, it's a big day for you, right? And I'd be like, well, to be sure, it's a big day. And then it's Easter. They dress me up like a bunny and they interview me. And, you know, 10 years old with a cigar in my mouth. And so I always thought of it as performing, you know. I never really considered acting as a profession because I didn't know anyone who was an actor. My aunt had acted in a couple of movies, but she was a singer. And but, you know, then my uncle, who I didn't know, came to Kentucky to do a movie. And I went to visit him and say hi. He said, come to Hollywood, be an actor. And I was like, okay, you know, try. And I drove out in a beat up old car and got there. And then, you know, it's a long haul. You know what it's like. It's there's a lot of auditioning and a lot of failures and a lot of no's, and you get a tougher skin and you learn what you know what works. And, you know, honestly, because we sometimes, when you're successful, you get too much credit. You know, it requires a great deal of luck. It really does. Right place, right time stuff. That matters a lot.
And I think the blessing of your parents, and, you know, I think that's also very, very important. And, you know, you know, you were just saying that your dad's 90 years old and he does, you know, almost how many sit-ups every day?
He does 200 sit-ups a day.
200 sit-ups a day. You know?
Yeah, I do too.
I was going to ask you, you know, people have, you know, they see you as this great-looking guy, you know, with a, you know, happily married with children and, you know, coffee and, you know, tequila and all those kinds of things. Nobody's ever seen you exercising or working out. Never shown, you know, what's your daily routine? What do you eat to look so good? You know,
I pay people to work out for me. No, you know, I do the same thing we all do. You know, I try to eat kind of a Mediterranean diet for the most part, and everything in moderation, including moderation. And then you know, and I play a lot of sports. I play a lot of basketball and a lot of like tennis and things like that. I still, you know, I'm lucky. I'm 61 years old and I can still play sports. And I played high school sports, baseball and basketball and stuff. So I still play that. It keeps me energized until my knees go out.
Matter of fact, even people, when they, you know, obviously somebody asks me also sometimes, and I feel I said, it's thanks to my mother, and my parents. I think that somewhere, sometimes it's the DNA which you have from your family, which really helps you the way you look. And of course, you have to look after yourself. And Mr. Clooney, you've done all kinds of genres, in films like rom-coms and, sci-fi and dramas and action films and, of course, political documentary. Which is the genre which is closest to your heart?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I'm going to ask you the same question because I would be interested in hearing what your favorite one is.
Yeah.
For me, I've always, look, I grew up really as a child of sort of American cinema in the 60s and 70s, which was a really exciting time.
Yeah.
Mostly because America was going through such upheaval at the time. We had the Vietnam War movement, and we had the civil rights movement, the women's rights movement, and the anti-drug or the drug counterculture. So the movies were really interesting from about 1964 to about 1976. And in that period of time were films like All the President's Men and Network and it really just films that, The Parallax View, all these sort of paranoid political thrillers. I've always been drawn to that because I find those really fascinating and fun. I wrote a couple of them. I wrote Good Night and Good Luck and Ides of March I wrote, and I've acted in more, including Michael Clayton and there's other films, Syriana for sure. And I like those kind of films. I think they're fun and exciting to do. You have to be careful because you don't want it to become a preaching. You want it to be a thriller, interesting. It's a bit of a balance. What's yours? What do you like the most?
Of course, I haven't done a sci-fi till now. I would love to do a sci-fi. I did a show of sci-fi for Left Bank Pictures called Oasis, but unfortunately it was not green-lit. And otherwise, I've never done a sci-fi. Otherwise, I've done all kinds of films. I've done action, I've done romantic films, drama. But yes, of course, I love comedies, doing comedies. I love doing comedies. And of course, I've done political thrillers and dramas. There's a film called Nayak, which I did, which is it's been almost over the 2 decades since the film has released, and people still talk about it. And whenever there's an election, any part of this country, any state, I said, you should be like, that the character I played in Nayak. Nayak means the hero. It means hero. So I played the chief minister, the governor of a state, of Maharashtra. And, and so I would love to do another political film which reflects what's happening, in our country, and something which, of course, you don't want to be preachy. You want to, basically, when I'm an entertainer the way you are. And coming to politics.
Well,
sorry, yeah.
I was going to say, unfortunately for me, some of my best dramas were comedies.
Yeah.
It wasn't intentional. It was just that's how they worked out. Yeah. Batman and Robin was a comedy.
I read somewhere, I really laughed so much. I said, you almost killed the franchise.
I tried to kill it. I did the best I could. Yeah, that's one of those movies where, there's a funny thing people don't understand. When you're really sort of just making it and someone offers you a big franchise, it's really exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really exciting. And, you're going to be Batman. I called all my friends. I'm going to be Batman. And we all laughed. And then, and you never even consider the idea that it's going to be terrible, and that you're going to be terrible in it. So it's like, the whole time I thought, this is great. And then you see it and you go, it's not great.
Yeah, and of course, and you get a fat paycheck also if you do a franchise, yeah.
Well, yeah, if I did it well, I would have gotten to do. It's like, it's like when we did Gravity, they killed me after about 20 minutes, so I don't even get to do the sequel to that.
Yeah, I remember reading the script of Gravity. I couldn't understand anything.
Yeah.
I just couldn't understand. It was not that I was offered the film, but my agents had sent me the script of Gravity, and I read it, and I said, I told David, I said, my agent's name, David Anga, and I said, I just can't understand. And this was almost 12 years back, and it was made, and it's been in the works for many, many years. And and it became one of the most respected, successful Oscar winner. Gravity was a phenomenal film, absolutely fantastic. Great director.
Yeah, Alfonso Cuarón directed. He's a really wonderful director, and he has a great eye.
Yeah.
And I think he rewrote the screenplay with his son, and there was something really simple about it, and it's fun to work on. It's a weird thing because it's all in a green screen. You're just, obviously we're not in space, so you're just hanging out on a crane all day for like 9 months, and you're at some point you go, okay, now scream, and then,
But George, like I'm sure there must be a lot of prep involved in doing, these kind of sometimes physically challenging, sometimes emotionally challenging. So how do you prep a lot for your film, or just you walk, sometimes for a rom-com, you just walk on the set? Or you have those readings, and how it is? What's your process?
I don't know.
What's your process?
Well, my process is pretty straightforward. As a director, I'll work with actors, some of whom are very method actors, and they want to live in the role for long periods of time. And some of them, then there's like Julia Roberts and actors like that just show up, say their lines, and walk away. I don't care as long as you don't interfere with other people, how you work. As an actor, for me, I'm more of the sort of Julia world where it's, you read the script, tell yourself a story, and try to translate that onto the screen. It's never been the way I work, but that's for other people it works really well, and so they can do that. I find life's a little simpler when you don't, when you don't torture the whole crew.
Yeah. And talking about Julia Roberts, and you did this film, which which is rom-com. You were fortunate over here in Bollywood. Once you cross 40, you never offered rom-coms. You were fortunate you did this rom-com with Julia Roberts, and my friends have seen it, and they loved it. They loved the film.
Well, and Julia Roberts is 75 years old, so she looks great.
No, seriously.
What are you talking? She looks great for 70. I think maybe you're right, 73, 74.
No, seriously, honestly.
She is, she's a great friend, and she was, and it's fun to do a sort of a normal adult grown-up comedy and let us sort of the old guys take a swing at it, which is pretty fun, and it's a big old hit, so we'll take it. It's fun when they work, It's interesting. It's been an interesting time. I don't know how it's been for you guys, but theaters have really taken a hard hit. The theater industry itself has taken a hard hit. There's a lot of business, a lot of streamers, a lot of business, but the theaters themselves have really been hurt. And it was important for us to have a film that we could be back in the theaters with. That was important. And so that it's successful in the theaters is really fun for us.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I'm being very honest because I, go for my morning walks and I meet normal people over there who are not connected to films, and they all really love the film. They love the film. Yeah.
We had fun. It's fun to do. It's not really my genre. I've only done one before it, and it was not very successful. And so doing that for me, I get to work with Julia, and she's a real pro at that. So it's her. Meat and potatoes. So it was fun to be able to work with her. And she's fun.
Yeah, please. Yeah. It's me. Like you're both such good-looking, people, and and there are a lot of advantages. Are there any disadvantages being so good-looking? If there are any.
Well, there's a disadvantage in answering that question. I'll tell you that because it sounds like any way you answer, you sound like a jerk. Well, listen, I will tell you, I do get tired of hearing people talk about how, the world is so much harder. I kind of go back to the sort of the simplest thing is, we're all, wherever we are in our careers, everybody there in that room with you is where they are in their lives from hard work and from determination. And also somewhere along the way, somebody gave them a hand, or there was a piece of luck, or you were the right place at the right time. And there's that moment where you go, oh, things just changed for me. And so we're all a little, and by the way, you make a lot of your luck. I'm not saying that it just falls on you, but we need help from others along the way. And so I've always felt like, when I go to events and meet some of the most successful people I've ever met, we talked to Barack Obama, there were breaks that he got in his life that changed the world, quite honestly, because he became president. And so we're all a product of hard work and determination, but a little bit of luck in there too. And so I feel like I've had my share of that along the way.
That's very humble of you, and very, absolutely. And and you carry success so beautifully, and we all. And Mr. Clooney, have you ever thought of being an active politician, being a senator, or sometime? Why not take a shot at being the president of the United States of America? I would love you to see you as a president of the United States of America. And,
I think it's a lot more fun to play them in films than it is.
But I would love to see you.
You just had Boris Johnson there, and he had a rough run. So I feel as if there are some really smart people who should be president of the United States, who have put in the time and effort to be able to make some decisions that I don't believe I should be making. I don't want to be making decisions on people's lives, life and death. Those are very important decisions to make along the way. And I think they should be made by people who have had a wide swath of experience. I do enjoy, and also I don't have to answer to anybody, man. To run for office, when you have to run for office, the idea of how many people, my father ran for Congress, the rings you got to kiss and the money you have to take in to get it, and the compromises on your own beliefs you have to make. I don't have to do any of that. I can stand up for the things I believe in, and the only results are if people are unhappy, they won't go see my projects, and then I can live with that because I made a decision. But I'm not held to a standard because I've had to make compromises along the way, and I feel very good about that in life. I'd rather pick the fights with I like to pick the fights with the people that need it,
Ladies and gentlemen, I have to tell you this, and I have to ask him this question, and I was really, you offered $35 million for one day's work as a paycheck, and you turned it down.
Yeah.
$35 million for one day, and you turned it down.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
35
my wife and I had a conversation about it, and the main conversation was, if you're going to be paid, there's a reason why people want to pay a lot of money, and usually it's to sort of whitewash what they're doing. If you look at what's going on with the live golfing world, there's some amazing people who are put in who've been put in jail. A woman blogger who's been put in jail for tweeting something about free women's rights in Saudi Arabia, and she's been put in jail. And yet there are these guys who are taking money from these same people, taking hundreds of millions of dollars to sort of whitewash it. And I find that to be hard to do. And I find it to be, when your employer is the person who's also ruining the civil and human rights of other people, I find it hard to take that money, and I feel that they're using my reputation to try to clean their own. And I feel like my reputation is worth better than that. And my wife and I had a long conversation about it, because I said, we'll take all the money and put it into our foundation. We'll never spend it. We'll do it just to do some good. But, there's a price, and, and for me, that price is not, it's my reputation and who I believe and what I stand for, what my parents taught me to be, really wasn't for sale, There was but I did take the meeting. Yeah.
I would love to meet your agent. I want to see what his reaction was when you turned it down.
I will tell you a really interesting thing. It's a really wonderful agent named Steve Lashiver. And we went in and sat down and had this meeting and talked with these guys, and walked out, and I said, I don't think I can do it. And my wife was there with me, and she said, I don't think you can do it. And Steve goes, okay, fair enough, can't do it. And he walked away. Now, I don't know what he said after I was out of the room. It's probably different. But it makes sense.
Yeah.
We all have to, my parents taught me a really interesting thing. When I was really young, my mom and dad, they gave me sort of this lesson in life that I've always gone by, which is my dad always said to me, you got to pick fights. You got to fight good fights. And you have to make decisions. And those decisions have to be that you have to challenge people with power. Anybody who has more power than you, you have to always challenge them. And you have to defend people who have less power. And if you do only that in your life, I don't care what you do as for a career. When I was 10 years old, he'd drum in my head. If you do that, you're a success. And I believe that. And I've tried to live my life that way. I've failed, a bunch. I've tried to be as successful at it as my parents are. And I've come up short often. But it's a goal, and it's something that I work towards every day of my life. And I think it's a good. We're raising our kids with that same sort of mentality, which is, our kids are born with our kids are born in a sort of the lap of luxury, and they're going to have to, to whom much is given, much is expected, and they're going to have to, they're going to have to show up. There's a lot of fights out there that they're going to have to fight, and they're going to have to stick up for some people, and we're going to have to learn empathy, and all those things are really important in life, and so those are important things to us, and you hope you don't lose those when as you get older.
Yeah, and talking about children, and I have 3 children. You have 2 beautiful children and a lovely wife. It's your 8th anniversary, 8 years of marriage, and and I can see that you're having a wonderful time, and balancing your professional and personal life beautifully, absolutely fantastic. And how do you balance it, and don't you think, you're worried for your children the way, with the social media, and, how do you protect them, because they are George Clooney's children, they're Amal's, you both are huge stars all over the world. People know you all over the world. People are respected. There are certain kind of expectations which will be, from your children, and to live up to your names and all. And, once they grow up, and of course they're young now. I am, sometimes it is. I'm being very honest with you. It's been, they have these privileges, but I think they have more disadvantages sometimes, I feel.
There are some, although nobody wants to hear anyone complain about it. But look, my kids are 5, so I don't worry about social media yet, thank God.
Yeah.
I'm not on any of it, which has made me sleep well at night, quite honestly.
You're not on social media?
None of it.
Fantastic. I wish.
No, listen, I'll tell you a little secret. Every once in a while, I like to have a glass of wine or 2. I don't need to pull out my phone after 2 glasses of wine and text I have a funny Mother Teresa joke and wake up and have my career be over. I don't need that kind of access, and I don't think people need to hear my every thought on everything. I don't think that's helpful. Now, look, it's tricky raising kids. You've done it. It's going to be, all you do is you want to try to teach them everything that they can. You want, teach them things that you hope they can avoid. I have an advantage that you didn't have, which is you had children when you were younger. And so your kids, your sons particularly, there would be this moment in time when they're 20 and you're 40 or whatever that is, where there's a competition in a way. They're going to be held and I'm sure that your son who's an actor has been compared to you. I'm sure of it.
Yeah. There's a lot of competition, and he's compared. Yeah, right.
So now that's not going to happen with me, because I'm going to be 90 when my kid's, in school and out. And so that part of it kind of changes a little bit, when it's just the funny old man gumming the bread in the corner, they won't be as apt to hold the mirror up to my kid in the same way. And I think that hopefully that's an advantage. We're going to try to raise them in a very normal life. I'm not very good. I don't know if you are, and I don't know about the people in that room and how they're good at this, and they can all answer it themselves. I'm not particularly good at balancing work and home life. My wife and I are working really diligently to make sure that we're spending more time not working. We haven't been great at it. I grew up, like I said, I grew up broke, and I was always afraid of not working. And so I continue to work, And my wife works really hard at, trying to bring war criminals to justice, and there's not really much time off from that. Unfortunately, there seem to be enough war criminals around. And so we're trying to adjust our lives a little bit better because I said, listen, Amal, I'm 60. I had this conversation, I was 60. I'm 61 now. I said, when I was 60, I said, listen, I can still play basketball with the guys. I can still run around. I said, but in 25 years, I'm 85. That's a different number. And that happens quickly, that 25 years. I said, so we have to make sure that while this is, while we're in good shape and healthy, we have to make sure we're living and spending our time together with our families in a more balanced way. We're always with the kids and we're always together, but we're always working. So it'd be nice to take some time down and spend some time in all around the world.
Yeah, yeah. That reminds me of a few greats all over the world. Actors like Paul Newman and Gregory Peck, and of course you cited that these are the few of the actors, two of the actors really you were influenced and looked up to. Are there any other actors besides these two greats? Even I, a huge fan of, seen a lot of Gregory Peck films and Paul Newman, terrific films. And are there any actors you really admire or looked up to in the past, present?
There were lots of different. Well, first I would say about Greg and Paul was I was friends with them, and they taught me a lot about how to be in the position they were in. They treated it with respect, and they had fun, and they didn't take themselves seriously, and they worked very hard to try to make the world better in other ways. And I always feel like they used their celebrity the best you could, and I loved them both, and I thought they were they were movie stars. I mean, they were, if you looked into Paul Newman's eyes, you're just like, you look at it and go, that's the most handsome. And Greg was 6'3" and, this deep voice. Just a movie star. Now, growing up, I had guys, if you wanted an actor that you couldn't take your eye off in film as a young man, Spencer Tracy was it. He always played kind of the same character. But you could never take your eye off of him. Absolutely. He had a skill that was just amazing at that. Then there was sort of the newest version of the early, method actors. Before Brando was Montgomery Clift, and Montgomery Clift. Yeah. Go watch A Place in the Sun if you guys have time. Yeah, I've seen his films. Yeah, and Spencer Tracy also. A Place in the Sun, particularly with Elizabeth Taylor and he at their most beautiful. It's a stunning film. You couldn't make a film like that anymore, but it's also just so beautifully done, and they're so good. And I remember it was the first time I was aware of what really great acting was watching Monty Clift in that movie. But I liked all the old movie stars. I loved Jimmy Stewart. I loved Cary Grant. I loved all those guys. They were fun to watch. Yeah, and I was fortunate not to meet them, but I've seen all their films and. Spencer Tracy's Guess Who's Coming for Dinner, Sidney Poitier. I really, he was a gentleman. I had the good fortune to meet him, and of course, and I've admired Brando and Pacino. Obviously, they are still doing some great work, and in the past also Paul Mooney and all the actors. These actors have seen all their great work. I remember as a young actor, I used to go to there are these archives. Obviously there was no digital at the time, so we used to go to these archives and watch all their old films, and but among the I've been very fortunate that I worked with your friend, or kind of you're both of the same age, Mr. Tom Cruise. Yeah. And he's having a good year. Yeah, he's younger to me, but still I really, besides all these great actors and all, obviously I learned a lot from him, and what I like about him is that it's been almost, I worked with him more than a decade back, and it's still, you feel that you might forget
he's such a huge star, but he still keeps in touch, and we keep in touch with each other, which is terrific. You send him a mail, and he answers the mail within a few hours. And that's.
Well, he's a movie star, really, truly a movie star. The movie he just did made $1.5 billion, and is sort of kind of like an acoustic instead of an electric. The effects are done in camera, and he really elevated it at a time where people were writing movies like that off, and so it's fantastic for our business. He's been great. He's been a great ambassador for our business.
And coming to a kind of a serious note, you believe in a lot of causes, and you work towards all these causes. Any cause which is very close to your heart at the moment, which you're really passionately, you and your wife, believing and doing your best to do whatever you can for that cause? Is there anything?
We have a foundation called the Clooney Foundation for Justice, and mostly it's about trying to pick those same fights. We're monitoring trials. The thing is that quite honestly, in my democracy, probably your democracy, in a lot of countries, there's a tendency to use the court system as a way of getting around looking like you're not being democratic. Russia certainly does it very well at times, which is we charged them with a crime, the judge presided over it, the jury found guilty, so they're going to jail for flogging or something that was a crime against the state or things like that. But what they don't say is that the judge and the prosecutor are the same person, and the jury was all in on it. So what we do is we monitor trials around the world, 40 countries right now, and with monitors to monitor the trials and to create a ledger and to try to gather evidence to retry these people, sometimes in international courts, because our goal is to create a sort of a scoring system for each country on they are at actual justice. And so we've been working on that for a while. I also chasing down some war criminals by following their finances. We've hired a bunch of forensic accountants, and you find some knuckleheads go on Instagram and show off, hundreds of thousands of dollars on a private jet when they're living on, $50,000 paychecks as the minister of defense, in some of the countries that we've been covering. I've worked a lot in South Sudan and continue to work there. It was a very frustrating time watching, what was really a failed state of another failed state. And spent lots in Darfur, and I kind of failed in my to try to thwart what was going on in Darfur. 17 years on it, but my wife now is trying some of the Janjaweed soldiers, in court. So, it goes full circle, and at some point, some of these people who've been so terribly treated receive justice, and that's a real rewarding. And I'm very lucky to have a wife who's as brilliant as my wife and as caring as my wife. So we have I got a lot of stuff going on. I spend more time doing that than I do in the movie business now. So that's what.
So any tips for young actors in India? Any tips you would like to give?
Well, it's tricky, right? Because when I was a young actor, I didn't really want to hear some old guy give him tips. I'd be like, what the hell does he know about the business? I think there's a lot of, there's things about auditioning that I always think about. I remember when I would first go on auditions, and maybe you had this too. You just go, oh, I hope they like me. I hope I don't screw this up. Oh, just like me, don't they? And you really get in your own way. And the truth is, you're now a producer and a director. You're sitting, now when you're sitting on the couch and an actor comes in, you're just hoping that they're going to be the right one so you can go home. We got the guy. Right. And if you just change that to being, when you walk in the door, I'm here to answer all your problems as the actor. I'm here to fix it for you.
Right.
That change in attitude, that kind of confidence changes everything in an audition. You can't lose what you don't have, right? We always think as a young actor, oh, I'm gonna blow it, or I blew it and didn't get the job. No, you can't. The only difference from the time you walk into the auditions, the time you walk out, is you get a job that you didn't have. So the only thing that happened is you get a job. That's the only thing that's different from the time you walk in and the time you walk out. If you think that way and work towards that, you have a much better chance of getting work, because confidence leads through to the director and the producer and the team always. But honestly, having said that, they don't want to hear that from me, because their worlds are very different. They're going to have different ideas of how to make it. And I'm sure things are much different than they were when I was, starting out. We didn't have, you couldn't go online and look things up.
I think time's running out, so I just want to ask. There's so many questions I want to ask, and but three of your, favorite films, and if you were standing on a, kind of a desert or island, which would be your three favorite films, three books?
Oh,
if you can,
God. Well, I could tell you two of them I would take from the same year. I love All the President's Men, and I love Patty Chayefsky's film, wrote this film, Network. I love those two. Like you can't imagine. I think probably Dr. Strangelove, because I'd never not watched it. But on the other hand, you always go, whenever either Godfather 1 or 2 comes on, you watch them all the way through. So, so I get 5 films. I take those to the.
Oh, fantastic! You're fantastic.
I'd be really good.
Okay, and so as there was. There was a scene in this latest film of yours where you're dancing and, kids get embarrassed. And I've been dancing for the last 40 years, George.
Yeah, you're a professional.
Yeah. And, I can give you some professional tips if you don't mind. And
yes, I would like that.
If if I can show you some, movements, you don't have to get up, you just have to sit there.
Yes.
I'm sorry, you won't be paid for that. Neither am I paid over here. So, but if you can, join me and I'll teach you few, if you don't mind. Can you?
No, I don't mind at all. In fact, I'm looking forward to it.
Can we looking forward? Oh, great! Can we play some music, please? So this film, this is a new film of mine where I played this, George Clooney kind of role, where I have a son, and a son comes to me that he wants to divorce his wife. And before he can say that he wants to divorce his wife, I said, I want to divorce my wife. So that was the story of the film. And it's a fun film, it's a comedy film. It's called Jug Jug Jo. Yeah. And we had a good time doing it. So, raise your hand. Yeah. Raise your hand. No, this is keep your hand like this. Your hand like this. Like this. Like this. No, one hand. Just one hand. Yeah, one hand. And one hand away.
चिकले कले रहना मैनू अच्छा लगदा जो भी तू कहे सारा मैनू झूठा लगदा ना मेरे जैसा मिले
Okay, once again.
तू कच्चे
Once more. Like this. Wow. Oh, that was so sporting of you.
Now I can hear you.
Now you can hear me. Okay, cool.
Now I can hear you.
Yeah. Time's up, Mr. Clooney. It's a privilege and an honor to speak to you. There are so many questions I want to ask you, and I have to let you go because you have a busy schedule. Thank you so much. It was everything. I think everybody has loved speaking to you.
It's late at night. I'm going to bed. Thank you, guys. And Anil, thank you, my friend, because you are a class act, and as I said, all my friends were very excited that I got to meet you and talk to you. So thank you.
Thank you, George.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clooney. Thank you, Mr. Kapoor. If I could request Ms.
Hope
Sonal
to see you
Kalra.
in LA and work with you, Mr. George.
Good, I'm ready.
Please recommend my name for in the new film which you're doing with Brad Pitt, the big one.
Okay.
The big one, the big, you know, I'm, you know, any small cameo.
Okay. We're ready.
Totally.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. May I request Ms. Sonal Kalra, Chief Managing Editor, Entertainment and Lifestyle, to please present Mr. Kapoor with a small token of our appreciation.
Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'm not a professional anchor, but I said, let's have some fun, and it was great speaking to this great man, and I appreciate that we Indians are known to be really good, warm hosts, and you're all so terrific in listening so attentively to our guest of honor, a guest from Los Angeles, George Clooney, whom I think the world admires. So thank you so much for being so patient, generous, and kind, and thank you so much. And coming here in Delhi, and whenever Sonal or Hindustan Times gives me this privilege and honor, it feels like family. I mean it, and I'm not saying this just, these are not words. Just I just mean from the bottom of my heart. So this is my, I think, third or fourth time I'm here. And my picture is still not there. So next time I come, I say my picture should be there. I noticed I've been working since more than all these actors. More than 4 decades. And I don't know how to market myself, but I think I deserve to be there. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kapoor, and we wish you all the best. And yes, your pictures will be up there, but you're all over anyway.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.